What they don't ever tell you about the hallmarked sister-wife relationship and why one wife's children were deliberately segregated. There's a lot to get through today, so let's bypass the chit-chat and get right into it. Hi guys, what's up? It's Anya, and welcome back to Reality Recap. And here's the thing. Imagine this, the notorious couch scene. Christine, Robyn, Cody, and the rest of them all sitting together. Tension so palpable you could cut it with a knife. Christine matter-of-factly reminds us, I honestly can't think of a single time when Cody left Robyn's residence to come help get my kids ready for school. It's just disgusting to leave one wife's house to help another wife's kids begin their day. She turns to Robyn, level but with a cutting edge, and says, "Why did you not want me assisting with your children? Isn't that sort of the whole purpose of Sister Wives?" Robyn, taken aback, snaps back, "Really? Are we doing this now?" Classic diversion. Cody, on the other hand, gazes downward, eyes fixed on the floor, as if acting like this conversation isn't happening. But the question is, why didn't Christine ask that question to Cody instead? And why was it never referenced again? Presumably because no one is brave enough to rock the boat where Robyn is involved. She is made to feel like the family's untouchable golden child. The hypocrisy is not real. Your behavior around Robyn suddenly becomes the test for whether or not you're a good sister wife. Christine can't even discuss issues related to Robyn with Cody, because in his world, Robyn is never flawed. She's supportive. She's kind. He never condemns her, but he quickly condemns Christine, Janelle, and Mary for their so-called abuse of her. They all espouse the same sister-wife slogan, working as a team, raising children together, being one great big mixed family. But Robyn's refusal to let Christine help her with her kids undermines everything she says she believes in. She's the one perpetually fighting to bond with Janelle and Christine. And her children? Same thing. Robyn's long insisted her children were never entirely accepted by the rest of the family. How could they be, though, when she deliberately isolated them? Her go-to excuse? That her children required protection, a safe place removed from the rough ways of the other kids. Yes, some children can be rambunctious, but that talk should have occurred prior to them becoming a member of the family, not under a rug for the purposes of romanticism. And the irony? Blinding. The one thing Robyn gripes about, her children being excluded, was driven by her own insistence on keeping them separated. There's even an anecdote about her not trusting Gwen to spend time alone with her son simply because there were decorative knives in the room. Gwen was an adult. Apparently that didn't count. During another interview, Robyn genuinely thanked Christine for bringing up old personality tests that had characterized Robyn as a drama addict. Meanwhile, Robyn wiped at non-existent tears, claiming she wasn't being dramatic. The passive-aggressive drama was hard to miss. Christine's cost of speaking up? Rather high. You can be sure Cody took her aback off camera, punished her on his own terms, and likely insisted she apologize to Robyn. He defends Robyn with an intensity that's difficult to deny. And Christine's error was having the courage to expose that Robyn has always operated on a different rulebook. And this wasn't some made-for-TV moment on the couch. It was a glimpse through the curtain, a moment that revealed the fissures in the one big happy family facade. Robyn desired the sister-wife fantasy, but only on her own terms. No effort, no cooperation. And Cody? He was perfectly happy to play along. Now wonder ever what one means when they say Robyn is able to speak Cody. Spoiler alert, it's not as sexy as you hope. Everyone makes that claim she had to be in the relationship because she's able to speak Cody, and the rest of them can't. She loves to remind us. I speak Cody. Christine replies, I don't know that I need someone to interpret for me. We've been married a long time. We got along just fine without her. I think I speak Cody. But here's the reality behind that quote. Speaking Cody is when Robyn listens to the knotted jumble of whatever he's complaining about, then rewords it into what she wants him to say. And after she's interpreted, Cody, surprise, surprise, nods in agreement. Yeah, that's what I meant. He's not the man he used to be. He's become empty, scared of losing Robyn or of falling out of favor in her eyes. He's always off kilter and frail, always looking to see how he can please her. Robyn is his biggest weak link, his kryptonite. It's no surprise the first three wives have all admitted they hardly know him as the same man they fell in love with. It's also no surprise Christine and Janelle confessed they're no longer attracted to him. That was evident in a moment where Robyn essentially silenced him until he could organize his thought, i.e., until he began repeating back what she wished to hear. But when Mary stood firm and clarified that she completely got what Cody was saying, it interrupted Robyn's control of the narrative. Robyn was appearing to guide the discussion about money issues, namely, not wanting Cody to mention to the other wives that he wasn't going to leave anything in his will to their children. It's simply another instance of how Robyn manages to get away with things that none of the other wives ever did. She manipulates circumstances and gets to Cody by telling him that she speaks Cody, but what she is actually doing is speaking on his behalf. And since Cody likes the convenience of having someone constantly covering for him, he allows her to do so. Even the children have told him, "He's our dad. We don't need you to talk Cody." And yep, that hurt. It really did. Robyn claims, "I talk Cody." But the truth is, Cody is a big boy. He can talk for himself. Years have gone by and there's a pattern now. Robyn will have me call the wives and say, "Let me speak to the wives. I can say it in a way that they'll comprehend it," and all behind closed doors. She doesn't work outside the home because taking care of Cody, honestly, is an around-the-clock job. Cody complains frequently that he's sick of being the decider, of bearing the responsibility, and of constantly getting blamed. Decisions being made for him by Robyn releases him from that burden. Even when others are still pointing fingers at him to himself, he can shift the blame, because technically, he didn't make the choice. Robyn facilitates his avoidance, and he gets to continue playing the part of the protective, misunderstood hero, particularly when it involves his soulmate. Fans are starved for a closer look at that dynamic. When Cody claims he does not have a head wife, but then allows Robyn to dominate conversation or even correct him in front of the other wives, it speaks volume. None of the other wives would have dared speak to him like that. He just would not have permitted it. But Robyn does it all the time. She inserts herself into every conversation, every decision, acting some sort of counselor role. The show rarely ever shows us an actual glimpse of Cody and Robyn's interactions during their day-to-day. Instead, we have nice, smooth-talking heads and orchestrated moments, ear piercings, holiday gatherings with the family, you name it. But the actual unfiltered interactions? Those are what are kept on the down low, because if people knew how they actually lived, they'd be plainly able to see who is actually in control. Robyn tends to act as Cody's personal assistant, his gatekeeper, controlling when and how he interacts with others. Cody's okay with it because it protects him. If something goes wrong, he can blame someone else for not being in charge. Robyn, meanwhile, plays dumb and pretends she's just passing on the message. So it leaves us wondering, who's calling the shot? The truth, Robyn just knows how to deal with Cody in a manner the others could not. She isn't so clearly in love with him. It is more like she's found somebody that she could easily manipulate, somebody who'd allow her to avoid the responsibilities of full-time work or childcare. Even her children were trained early on to please him, and they succeeded. Over the years, Cody checked out emotionally and mentally on his other wives. He used to cry over the family dog. He was that emotionally invested, but that man is gone now. Robyn doesn't talk Cody. She bosses him around. At this point, Cody and Robyn are living in monogamy. Mary's not even in the picture when it comes to their family. And now, Mary's having to fight just to get her own estate separated. Meanwhile, Cody and Robyn are locked in. There's no separating them. He's altered so much that even the emotional dependency he once had for things as minor as the family pet isn't there anymore. In the early seasons, we got glimpses of him attempting to appease Mary, but that wasn't quite the same. That was more the depletion of 20 years of trying to accommodate someone who didn't always communicate them in a clear way. But with Robyn, he's the hero, the rescuer, and she is the damsel in distress. Perfectly played. While the other wives gave him actual emotional needs and nuance, Robyn gave him an opportunity to feel like a savior. And that ego trip? He couldn't resist it. Robyn was even involved in counseling sessions between Cody and Mary before she was officially part of the family. That level of intrusion was jarring. According to the family's book, Mary and Cody had actually invited Robyn into those sessions, and she even had one-on-one counseling with Mary, too. That was a massive boundary violation, and it gave Robyn all the ammo she'd later use against Mary. Everything we've seen paints a clear picture of a man who allowed himself to be reshaped by his newest wife. She spoke for him, guided him, and in many ways, treated him like a child. Cody didn't lose his voice. He gave it up voluntarily, perhaps because it meant less pressure, less guilt, and someone who always had his back. Of course, perhaps Cody and Robyn feel like they've found harmony with each other, but it's a harmony established on overlooking the hurt they inflicted on everyone else. They communicate in the same dialect: denial, excuse-making, manipulation. And they reside in a bubble in which the only truth is that which insulates their narrative. Whether or not Cody is actually in love with Robyn, or just addicted to how easy it is to be made to feel emotionally by her, the fact is, it's a weak, empty foundation for what was originally to have been a shared, balanced, plural marriage. Here's the brutal reality: no one wants to hear about that so-called perfect polygamist family, and how one sister wife burned the whole shebang to ashes. There's been some tension about, how much time Cody gives me, if I should have equal time or not, because we're not married yet. Robyn's words painted us a picture of exactly who she was. Right from the start, she revealed who the supposedly selfish sister wife was. She pretended that she wanted this close connection with her sister wives, but it was obvious from what she did. She didn't. If she had truly cared, she would have been sympathetic to a very pregnant Christine. She would have had respect for the situation and backed off. Instead, she pushed forward, insisting on equal time and attention before she was even officially a part of the family. "When we're married, she gets equal time." I disagreed. I disagreed with all of it. Christine wasn't being catty. She was calling attention to the obvious. That extended courtship threw everything off. Rather than waiting, Robyn bowled over right in front of her soon-to-be sister wife, pulling Cody away from Christine and the rest of the family while she was about to give birth. Cody and Robyn were behaving as if the rest of the world did not exist. The empathy was not only lacking, it was not there. They were busy getting wedding dress fittings and cake tastings while Christine sat at home, pregnant. It was appalling. And then on the day Christine actually gave birth, Cody was with Robyn. Again. They could not stay away from each other. Again. If anyone was still wondering what Robyn's true motives were back then, that was her real bombshell. She revealed her hand early. And Cody? He would have done anything for her. If she had just said, "Let's wait until Christine has her baby," he would have. But she didn't, because she didn't care. So who was the self-centered sister wife from the beginning? Robyn was. She had already upset the family before she ever became a part of it. And she and Cody both deserve one another. She once revealed their courtship was long for a multiple couple, minus 10 months. And she left her children with her mom while she was away. If she really wanted to fit in with the family, she could have used that courtship to begin building a connection. But if you don't even trust the other mothers enough to babysit your children for you while you're on a honeymoon with their father, that's a red flag. Perhaps this family wasn't a good match after all. You're in? Fine. Within my lifestyle, my wives are all right with me having another wife. Robyn never wanted the other wives to become close friends with her children. She ensured that never happened. Because if the kids had gotten close with their other moms, they could have begun questioning things. They could have caught on to all the lying they were being told about the rest of the family. That would have unraveled Robyn's story. So no, her children couldn't adore another mom. Robyn's too possessive, too jealous. This never was about sharing time, love, resources. This was about taking, withholding, and pretending. She didn't want any other woman being called mom by her kids. And when others mentioned their varying styles of parenting, that difference became yet another divider. Even on the courtship, Robyn received special treatment. Now here's the thing. I don't like Robyn, but on this one point, I do get it. Everyone's concerned with what's fair for the grown-ups, but leaving your children in a madhouse of a home for 11 days so you can take off isn't necessarily ideal for them. Her children likely never stayed away from her that long, much less in an overcrowded house with new folks. They were adjusting to a new dad, too, and not only that, he left them right after the wedding. That alone is a major emotional blow. So yes, leaving them with her parents, people they knew and trusted, probably was best in that moment. But the larger issue is that Robyn never attempted to assimilate her children. At all. Not during the courtship, not post-marriage. And that says everything you need to know. There wasn't much attempt to stage for genuine integration. Cody was traveling hours each week to visit Robyn and her children for months. Robyn probably knew before long that she did not want her kids growing up in the Brown family dynamic, and actually that's understandable as a mom. But if she didn't trust the family with her children, then why get married into it? Given all the turmoil and upheaval, why depart for 11 days? Why not a weekend, or better yet, a week? 11 days is excessive, particularly with a second marriage. Their courtship essentially replicated Robyn's own family life growing up in polygamy, where her mother had the same setup. It is understandable that Robyn would want to maintain that same space, likely believing she would be permitted to live apart post-marriage as well. And spoiler alert, that's just what happened. As soon as she formally married Cody, the entire family moved into different houses in Las Vegas. Robyn's always had her own space, her own house, her own bubble. Had she actually let her kids integrate into the family before the wedding, maybe it wouldn't have been such a big issue. They had 10 months to slowly acclimate. The kids could have had overnights, built familiarity with the other moms. But Robyn chose to keep her children separate, and we've seen that separation continue throughout the entire series. Truthfully, if her children had remained with Mary at the time, it could have insulated them from the frenzy. But let's be honest. Would Robyn ever have allowed Cody to leave her for 11 days when she was 8 or 9 months along? Never in a million years. If any woman nowadays said to a friend that her husband was making arrangements for an almost 2-week trip around the time she was due, that friend would tell her, "Put your foot down." You simply don't abandon your pregnant wife like that. It's plain common sense. And then there's the kicker. Cody has asserted they deserved a honeymoon. But reality actually was already 6 weeks along at the time of their marriage. The courtship occurred while Christine was in the family way, but the honeymoon occurred when she was coping with a newborn. It is the ultimate insult. Robyn mentions that she has a special place in her heart for Truly, most likely because Truly never had a life without Robyn as a member of the family. But that is one more example of how out of touch Robyn is with the harm done by her actions. If she had actually considered her children, or the family she was marrying into, she would have proposed a shorter wedding, perhaps a 3-day honeymoon. This was not a honeymoon for a first-time bride and groom. They had children, obligations. They could have used that time to establish trust and connection with the rest of the family, rather than insisting everyone accommodate her comfort level. Yes, leaving her children with their grandmother probably was best for them. But it wasn't that. It was never about what would be logical for the entire family, only about what was convenient for Robyn. They stood to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, initiate the marriage and establish relationships. But Robyn's emotional maturity tended to be arrested. She could play like a high school mean girl, entitled, dramatic, and emotionally manipulative. Let's not pretend this behavior started with Robyn either. Christine married Cody while Janelle was pregnant. Janelle had originally wanted to marry him on Mary's birthday. Christine once told Mary, when she was 4 months pregnant, "I hope you're not pregnant," because she didn't want anyone else stealing attention from her own marriage. This is not a fairy tale. These women, caught up in a very patriarchal regime, would often attack one another in vicious and selfish manners. Cultlike dogma instructed them to struggle for morsels of their husband's affections. And what do you do in an environment like that? You begin concealing your emotions. You internalize your resentment. You pursue approval from a man who's emotionally tapped out. You keep your home immaculate, your energy bright and bubbly when he comes by, hoping your house becomes his favorite, pretending all the while that you're fine. It is a breeding ground for resentment. This system required women to compete, suppress, and smile while doing so. It's not surprising that they have confessed to selfish or mean statements from the past. That was the price of admission. During the tell-all episode, tough facts were finally revealed, including Kody's blatant disdain for Christine. Robyn, on the other hand, did nothing during Christine's challenging pregnancy. No assistance, no shared responsibility, just perpetual tears and victimhood. Robyn didn't cooperate, but Christine did. Christine financed Robyn's life on top of raising children of her own. That Christine's children were cared for by a nanny rather than family established an early precedent: separation and distance. Robyn never wished to acclimate. She didn't need to depend on the other wives. She didn't establish trust. She didn't establish anything other than a story where she's the mistreated victim. The truth is, blame goes all around. Christine married Cody while Janelle was pregnant. Janelle wanted to marry him on Mary's birthday. Robyn? She didn't mind kissing a married man while engaged, even while Christine was in labor. She kept secrets from the other wives, and she knew what she was doing was wrong. She dominated Cody for months of courtship, and by the time she got married to him, the damage was done. Robyn has always been self-absorbed and entitled. She went off on an 11-day honeymoon while Christine stayed home with a newborn, but then demanded that Cody not leave her children for even small procedures. That hypocrisy speaks volumes. And when Robyn smugly remarked that truly can't remember a time without Robyn in the family, it wasn't just tone deaf. It was a slap to Christine's face. If Robyn and Cody had any respect for Christine, they would have waited. Instead of owning up to the cruelty, Robyn had the nerve to look for Christine's friendship, and Cody even insisted on it. While Robyn's selfishness is undeniable, Cody didn't have to comply with it. He could have drawn a line, but he didn't. He never did. Yes, feelings run high in family, and yes, stress and hormones can drive reactions, but at some point, the damage is not accidental. Let's discuss the so-called obedient wife. Robyn and her kids were allegedly doing everything right. The COVID rules, the restrictions, the sacrifices. But in the real world, Christine locked away in the house, kids treated like prisoners, while Robyn's family quietly existed in a parallel universe. Christine had been away. Janelle and her children continued to mingle. Robyn's crew were the only ones painted as compliant suddenly. It was a story told to curry favor, and it succeeded. COVID policies took what little trust there was in the family and destroyed it. And the leader of the pack was Robyn. When the suggestion of bonfires was made, Cody was receptive, perhaps even optimistic. But Robyn refused. She demanded stern policies in the name of keeping everyone safe. And her fears became the family's policies overnight. Cody said these were his choices, but it was obvious. Robyn was calling the shots, and he was too cowardly to confess it. When the others tried to call him out on the hypocrisy, how Cody was okay with breaking rules when it benefited Robyn, he insisted on apologies. That's not leadership. That's gaslighting. He would rather break his whole family than just own up to he and Robyn not being truthful. And for that reason, Robyn's dominance was rewarded. Her demands born out of anxiety were obeyed. Her no's to compromising or gathering were taken as absolute. The rest continued to reach out for harmony, but they were thwarted at every step. That is why the very idea of plural marriage eluded them. Marriage is all about putting a partner first, but polygamy requires equity, and Cody just couldn't or wouldn't surrender his wives to equal treatment once Robyn came along. He wanted the first wives to give up their relationships and even their children in the interest of loyalty, but he didn't have to give anything back. Rather than taking credit for his favoritism, Cody wished to be applauded for pretending. The reality? The favoritism existed all along, but the pandemic made it inevitable. He abused the pandemic as an excuse to pull back into Robyn's sphere and close everyone else out. And then there was that unforgettable moment. It wasn't my first Christmas without everybody, but it was my first Christmas without Mary. Even Robyn, Miss Rule follower, finally dropped her guard. She forgot to include Mary, didn't check in, hardly remained in touch. Mary herself acknowledged that communication with Robyn had reduced to nearly nothing. Cody's whole perspective had shifted. He no longer wanted unity, only control. He went into a patriarchal mode where love was dependent and loyalty was currency, but at this rate, he's not constructing a family. He's digging his own grave. Robyn, on the other hand, uses her anxiety as a cover, but it doesn't ring true. It feels politicized. Her fears are what she employs to manipulate, to isolate, to get Cody to need her. Either heightened or performative, her anxiety empowers her. It allows her to position herself as the victim and control the entire dynamic. The truth? Robyn likely never desired plural marriage, but she did desire fame. She desired economic security. She did the role that got her there, and once there, the parameters began shifting to accommodate her. And Cody? He supported her every step of the way. She spun the story, painted the other wives as mean or hard to deal with, while maintaining her halo. But to anyone who actually knows what genuine anxiety resembles, Robyn's drama reads shallow and condescending. Cody enforced the harsh rules not because they were logical, but because they benefited Robyn. The COVID protocols weren't health-oriented, they were control-driven. Tests of loyalty in disguise. And they wronged Mary the most. She complied with every mandate. She listened to every restriction. And still, she was shut out. Even the children weren't fooled. We're beginning to put ourselves against Dad because it's against Dad. Who is coming up with these rules? The answer? Cody. Or more specifically, Cody at the behest of Robyn. He employed those procedures to make it absolutely clear who was deserving of his attention and who wasn't. And Robyn knew precisely how to appeal to his ego to secure her place at the top. The rest of the wives were independent, strong. They didn't need Cody. Cody needed them. Robyn ensured that Cody would require her and never question that. The favoritism and control, it's been glaring for years, and Cody allowed it. Robyn doesn't merely get her way with Cody, she controls him. She interjects, corrects, redirects, and he allows her to change his mind as if there's nothing to it. Remember that bonfire incident? Cody didn't care about the procedures in the beginning, but the minute Robyn asserted herself, he flipped. She reasserted control, and he snapped back into compliance instantly. Their COVID policies weren't about safety. They were about control. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. The policies were unevenly applied, and without any true sense of logic, barricading the family in ways that did more harm than good. The grown children recognized it for what it was, not issues of safety, but Robyn's desire to boss Cody and the narrative. Robyn wouldn't allow Cody near the other wives or children, but was fine with outside assistance, public engagements, and irregular protocol following. No masks, no shots, and no responsibility. She did as she pleased against her own rules. And when Cody became ill, it seemed dramatized. It appeared as a cry for attention, a justification for the growing cracks in the family. Cody's rageful outbursts were not about health. They were about guilt, about getting caught, about having to confront the fact that he'd chosen one woman over a family. Robyn gave him the words, coded, manipulative, and designed to keep him in her corner. Everyone else could recognize it, but Cody's ego wouldn't allow it, because admitting it would mean admitting that he'd failed the family. At the end of the day, it doesn't even matter whose the idea of the rules were. Robyn's constant worry, real or imagined, established the tone, and Cody reinforced it. That's the real problem. A loving father would have recognized his children's pain and attempted to meet them halfway. Instead, he doubled back and insisted on apologies, probably parroting Robyn's hurt feelings, not his own. The tests of loyalty were ferocious. Christine and Janelle failed them. They expressed their hurt and were punished for it. Even Mary, who obeyed all the rules to the letter, was still cast out. Robyn saw to it. It was never about obedience, really. It was about control, and it always centered on Robyn. If Robyn hadn't pushed the matter, Cody would have likely ignored COVID like he's dismissed all other issues. But with Robyn in his ear, all choices became an ordeal of obedience. He did whatever he thought would get approval from the one person who offered him blind devotion. But everybody else was aware of what was going on. The reality is, those protocols weren't about health. They were about control. They broke the family apart in the name of safety. The constant moves, the perpetual disruption, the terror of losing touch, it all made it more difficult to escape. That was the idea. Robyn's anxiety was not merely emotional, it was strategic. It alienated the family, put her on a pedestal, and trapped Cody in a cycle of codependence. He remained because she made him feel essential. But it was all an act, and the rest of the family refused to continue playing along. Ultimately, it was never about risk or viruses. It was about control. The inconsistencies revealed it. It was a power move, a test of loyalty, a manipulation disguised as concern, and it succeeded, for a while. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis struck a chord or woke you up, give that like button a click and subscribe to the channel.